Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am sharing how to create a see-through acetate card, and I'm featuring some of the brand new products from the Pinkfresh Studio May 2023 release. And this card features the Pretty Blossom Cling Mount Rubber Background Stamp. This also has a coordinating hot foil plate available, and I'll also be using the coordinating die and stencil set. Now, I love how all of these products coordinate together, but this die is really what makes this background stamp special because it kind of die cuts out all of the open space of the stamped image, and we'll see that in a bit. Now, to use these cling mount rubber stamps in your MISTI stamping tool, you'll want to take out the black foam that's in the MISTI stamping tool and then place your rubber stamp into the MISTI and pick it up just like you would a clear stamp. But because these have a little more depth than a clear stamp, you're going to need to remove that black foam part in order to make this work. Now I have some smooth white cardstock in my MISTI stamping tool. I'm inking up this entire background stamp with some black ink, and then I'm pressing this down onto the cardstock. Now, there were a couple areas that I wanted a deeper, darker, richer black image, so I went ahead and just re-inked my stamp and stamped back down right into the same place, and that gave me a beautiful stamped image. Now, before I get to die cutting this, I'm going to start lining up the layering stencils and add some color to this image. Now, the cool thing about this image is that it really does look beautiful in black and white, and I'll be sharing a video tomorrow that features this image just in plain black and white, and I think it's a beautiful graphic looking element for the front of the card. Now, for the first stencil, I am inking the entire thing with Ballet Slipper. And then I'm switching over to Peach Fuzz ink, and I'm bringing in my 1/2-inch blending brush from Pinkfresh Studio and blending that just into the center of the florals. And then I went over the entire thing again with another layer of Ballet Slipper. Now I'm moving on to my second stencil, and I used Coral Reef over the entire thing. And then once again, brought in the Peach Fuzz in the center of those images. And I just repeated this same kind of color combination for all of the floral images. Now for the greenery, I started out with a layer of fresh pear, and then for the detail portion of these leaves, I brought in olive and I blended that in with the 1/2-inch blending brush as well. And you can see the beautiful colored image that I had so quick with these layering stencils. But here is where the magic really happens, and that is with this die. Now I'm going to line up the die here, and then I'm going to run it through my Anna Griffin Impress machine. And this is what you're left with. Just those florals, all of the background has been cut out. And when I saw this, I thought this will be perfect for an acetate card. So I went ahead and die cut this image again 2 times out of white cardstock. And then I grabbed the Enjoy Today sentiment. This is from another one of the new stamp sets from Pinkfresh Studio, just released this month. I'm stamping that onto white cardstock using that same black ink. And then I grabbed the coordinating die and I die cut that out and I slammed it on my table to release it from the die, which is what I do quite often. Now I went ahead and die cut one of the Pinkfresh Studio arches from some Concord and 9th white cardstock. And I'm taking the coordinating foiling plate that's just a little bit smaller, and I'm holding it in place using a piece of the Spellbinder's Best Ever Craft Tape. I find that this is the best tape for foiling because it doesn't leave a residue on your cardstock when you run it through your foil machine. Because the foil machine is applying some heat, some of the other tapes that I use kind of leave a goo behind, and this one does not do that. So once I've created that hinge, I flipped the foil plate back and added a piece of blush cardstock underneath that foil plate. And then I added it to my Gemini foil press. I let it heat up for about a minute, and then I removed that platform from the base and ran it through my Gemini Junior die cutting machine, and that gave me that beautiful foiled arch. Now to add a little dimension to my sentiment, I went ahead and die cut out of some plain white cardstock using that same coordinating sentiment die. I stacked those up using some liquid glue, and then I finished off that stack with the stamped version. Now I'm also going to layer up this foiled arch piece just to give this a little sturdiness to the front of the card. But overall, I die cut the plain white arch 4 additional times. So I have my foiled piece, that was 1 time, and then 4 additional plain white die cuts for that arch because we're going to use them on the inside of our card as well. Now to give this floral piece a little sturdiness on the front of the card, I went ahead and layered a plain white die cut behind that as well. And you can see I have a second plain white die cut over to the side there, and that will go on the inside of my card. Now I am tracing a little line on this die cut piece here, showing you where I'm going to trim off. So there's just this one little floral cluster at the edge. I thought it would be fun to let more of the acetate card base show through. So I went ahead and just trimmed that off, and I'm actually going to repurpose that little piece there. I'm going to add some liquid glue to the back of this and add it to this foiled arch piece. Now you can see it sticks off the bottom just a little bit, and I'm just going to trim off the excess there. But because it already had that smooth edge along the right-hand side, it made it perfect to line up with the straight edge of this arch. And then I added my layered up sentiment there over the top of that, and that creates kind of the sentiment focal area for my card. Now I needed to match up this plain white die cut that is going to go on the inside of my card with the die cuts that I created for the front of my card. And so I am just trimming off that little extra floral piece again, and that will let it match up on the inside of my acetate card. Now to create my card base, I'm using the Essentials by Ellen clear plastic. This is a great heavyweight plastic acetate, and I've cut it to 4¼ inches by 11. And now I'm taking it over to my We Are Memory Keeper scoreboard, and I'm giving it a good score at 5½ inches. I like to use a metal stylus for this because I get a deeper score on this acetate. And once I have it scored, I'm going to fold it in half and reinforce that fold with my bone folder. And that's gonna give me a nice tight crease and create my top folding A2 size card. So now that my card base is created, I'm gonna go ahead and start gluing the pieces onto my card. And I have extra pieces so that I can disguise the adhesive that I'm using to hold these pieces on the acetate card. And that's gonna make more sense as we go here. So I'm starting out with the card front, and I'm adding some liquid glue to the back of that. And then I'm going to line it up with the edge of my card base that I've created out of that acetate. And because this die really does create a nice defined edge around all 4 of the edges of this die cut, it's really easy for me to line up the top, left, and bottom edge with the card base and get it perfectly in place. Now I'm just kind of pressing that down and holding it for just a second because liquid glue does take a little bit longer on acetate to kind of set up. And now I am taking that second plain white die cut piece that I created, and I'm adding some liquid glue to what is actually the front of this die cut. This is going to adhere to the back side of the card front and hide the liquid glue that I used to adhere that card front onto my acetate card base. So you can see here, I've just added the liquid glue to the front. Now I'm opening up the acetate card and lining this up on the inside of the card. And now that acetate is sandwiched between the die cut pieces, and it gives me a nice clean look. Now I'm going to start adhering the arch pieces as well, and we're going to kind of repeat this process, but we're not only going to add one to the front inside of the card, we're also going to add 2 more die cut pieces to the back side of the card, and you're going to see that come together here. Now I'm going to start with liquid glue and adding this kind of decorated piece to the front of my card. And then once again, just like we did with the floral piece, I'm going to take a second plain white die cut and I'm going to adhere it on the inside of this. And that's just going to help disguise the liquid glue that might be showing through that I used to adhere that stamped and foiled piece on the front of my card. So I'm adding this to the inside front of the card. Now, because I want there to be a place to write a message inside of the card, I'm going to take a third plain white arch piece. I'm going to add some liquid glue, and then I'm going to open up my card and I am going to face this die cut with the liquid glue facing up towards the camera, and I'm going to align it with that second arch piece that we just placed a moment ago. So the glue is facing up towards the camera, and once I have that positioned in line with the other die cuts that I've already added, I'm going to close that acetate card on that And this arch on the inside of the back side of the card is perfectly in place. Now I'm going to hide the liquid glue one more time with one more die cut arch piece, and this one goes on the very back of the card. And now I have a little place inside of my card where I can write a personal message. Now, granted, it's a very small place, but it's still a place to write a message, and I think this card is absolutely beautiful. I think it would make a really lovely wedding card. And you can see, because I've sandwiched that acetate between multiple die cut pieces, I don't have any adhesive showing anywhere. And because I used a nice heavyweight acetate for my card base, this stands up with no problem. Now, acetate cards are so much fun to create, but using a die cut like this makes it even more special because there's all those see-through areas on the card front. You could also do this technique by layering multiple die cuts together, multiple floral images together to create a shaped card front. But this pretty blossom stamp and coordinating die just make the process so easy. As always, I will have links to the featured products used in this project in the description at YouTube, so if you're looking for something in particular, be sure you check there. Or you can head on over to my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. I'll have that linked below as well. Over there, you'll find more still shots, more information, a complete list of supplies, as well as some information on a blog hop that is taking place today to celebrate this fabulous new release from Pinkfresh Studio. Thank you so much for stopping by and joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications here on my channel so you don't miss any of the paper crafting and card making video tutorials I share here. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.